Good morning, 6 a.m. here on this Thursday. Meteorologist Russ Lacate saying a heat wave is on the way, but conditions right across the province are looking much different thanks to this prolonged dry spell we've been experiencing. Take here in Souk, for example, where the blackberry plants are producing fruit weeks ahead of schedule. The BC River Forecast Centre has issued an extreme low flow advisory for several creeks and rivers on Vancouver Island, saying conditions now are more typical of late August, and there's a lot of concern for what that will mean for various salmon runs.
Just this week, I was photographing a barred owl that was across at the Coxsala River above the Malahat there, and I was able to cross the river in a pair of boots without getting wet. And for June, that's typically unheard of.
Vancouver's homeless population is also feeling the heat. Just like there are extra calls for things like socks and toques in the winter, the Union Gospel Mission is in need of some pretty specific items during this upcoming hot stretch. Sunscreen is a major item in demand right now.
So they do need people coming around talking to them to remind them that it's really hot. You don't want to get a sunburn. You don't want to get dehydrated. That just aggravates other issues that they already have. So it's definitely a supportive community that needs outreach workers, needs people helping them out and giving them the resources that they need.
Well, it's official. Vancouver is the first city in Canada to regulate retail medical marijuana shops. City Council has passed a new bylaw where pot shops will now be charged a $30,000 licensing fee and won't be able to operate within 300 meters of schools, community centers, and other stores. Compassion clubs and nonprofits will only have to pay a fee of $1,000. Business owners have 60 days to apply for a license, but it's expected 2/3 of them will have to move locations.
We've taken action when there's a huge gap. There's no action being taken by the federal government, and we need to regulate these dispensaries. We just can't let it be a free-for-all.
It's a great first step. It's really good that the city's actually taking this on and doing this. We still have some concerns. It does look right now like the oldest, most established ones may all have to move if amendments aren't made in the future.
Pot edibles will be banned, with the exception of tincture, oils, and capsules. NPA Councillor George Affleck fears the new regulations will open the city up to legal challenges in court.
I don't think it's going to solve the problem that we have today. I think we are going to head ourselves into a myriad of nightmare, litigious situations from every level of every kind of group.
Wall Street players are betting Vancouver's housing bubble is about to burst. Some of Wall Street's biggest investors are thinking that is about to happen, and they are looking at the potential profits they could make if it does. There are also claims suggesting that many are looking at how much debt Canadians are holding. Some are even predicting a real estate crash as early as this fall. That is, if the U.S. raises historically low interest rates and there's a financial spillover into this country. Hedge fund investors are also saying to be actively building positions against Canadian housing targets. A national campaign is being launched to address the growing number of laser strikes on airplanes.
I have never seen the intensity of a light ever so brightly light up a cockpit or a flight deck at night as that particular laser did that night. And it was sustained for a good 5 to 6 seconds.
Last year, there were more than 500 laser strikes on aircraft across Canada. That's up 43% in 2 years. So far this year, there's been 282 strikes across the country, with 47 incidents in BC. Police say the availability of inexpensive, high-powered lasers online are contributing to the problem. The glare can temporarily blind pilots, endangering the crew and all of their passengers.
You do see someone doing this, you need to call 911. Because that is the seriousness in which we take it. It is just like any other crime in progress. This could be a catastrophic event if a pilot loses their eyesight.
Offenders could be fined up to $100,000 or face 5 years in prison for aiming a laser at an aircraft. Well, today marks 2 months since the devastating earthquake in Nepal. A Vancouver civil engineer has just returned from a humanitarian mission there and says people living in that country are still in a desperate situation. The international community is still in Kathmandu and other surrounding areas affected by the 7.3 magnitude earthquake, which struck the region back in April and killed more than 8,000 people. A lot of the buildings that remained intact are being torn down because they're unsafe to enter, and temporary shelters are still in place.
As attention wanes, sometimes so does the amount of funding that comes in. One of the problems right now is The UN's only received about 1/5 of the money that they forecast will be needed for the recovery of prior to the earthquake. So that's a big thing that I think people can keep in mind if they have the means. There are a lot more funds that are required in order to do the work that needs to be done there.
Well, a nearly 200-meter zip line will be up and running in Vancouver's Queen Elizabeth Park next week. The zip line will celebrate the park's 75th anniversary and will open to the public on Canada Day. Riders must weigh between 60 and 250 pounds and will have to pay between $12 and $20 for a ride. The launch will be from a temporary tower right next to the Bloedel Conservatory.
This was just a trial that we proposed to the parks for, coincided with the 75th anniversary. The intent is just to do a temporary, something fun for the summer and, give Vancouver something different.